Good morning students, welcome once again to online video class from PCHSS Barikada. So today I am going to continue that chapter that is called organisms and populations. Some important topics are left. Yesterday we had completed about some yesterday we had discussed about some important topics. Now some what parts are left, so today I am going to explain that part. Okay, now environmental factors for ecosystem. Environmental factors a little bit continuing up today. Okay, environmental factors determining for ecosystem, determines ecosystem. What? First is climatic factors and another one was adaptive factors. Climatic factors and adaptive factors. So in under climatic factors, what are the components left? First one is light, sunlight. Number 2, temperature. Number 3, humidity. Number 4, rain or water. Number 5, air. Okay, so these are the climatic factors. And the adaptive factors, under the components of adaptive factors are soil texture, topography, minerals and pH are the adaptive factors. Okay, so very important part to be discussed today is what is sunlight and temperature, which are very important points. Okay, so environmental factors determines ecosystem. So climatic factors, and the climatic factors, sunlight. What happens during sunlight? What happens to the organisms when sunlight is falling onto the surface of earth, and what does the temperature performs for? Now sunlight, as we know, sunlight is the ultimate source of energy. Ultimate source of energy is solar radiations. Okay, now sunlight. So which kind of lights are emitting from sunlight? Which kind of lights are emitting from sunlight? Electromagnetic radiation. Which kind of radiation? Electromagnetic radiations, forming what? Electromagnetic spectrum. Electromagnetic spectrum constituting different kinds of rays which are coming from the sunlight. Now first is gamma rays, second one is X-rays, ultraviolet rays and visible light, then infrared, then radio waves. Okay, first one is sunlight. It is emitting gamma rays. Which kind of rays? Gamma rays. Okay, then after that X-rays. After gamma rays, X-rays, and after X-rays there is ultraviolet rays, UV rays. Then here it is visible light. What it is calling? Visible light. This is the electromagnetic radiation or electromagnetic spectrum of different light, of different parts of light. Okay, visible light. Then after that infrared, then radio waves. All these rays are constituting which kind of radiation? That is electromagnetic radiation which is emitting from the sunlight. Okay, gamma rays. Having from here the wavelength of the rays length of the wavelength increases from left to right. From left to right, the left to right, the wavelength of the rays increases. Okay? Now first, in gamma rays, what is the wavelength of gamma rays? Now 0.001 to 1.4 angstrom degree. Okay, 0.001 to 0.001 to 1.4 angstrom degree. This is the shortest wavelength. Which is the shortest wavelength of light? The shortest wavelength of light is gamma rays. Which is the shortest wavelength? Shortest wavelength is gamma rays. Shortest wavelength is gamma rays. Now in X-rays, what is the wavelength of X-rays? Wavelength of X-rays is 0.005 to 200 angstrom degree. Okay, this is the wavelength of X-rays. And in ultraviolet rays, 150. Remember it, 150 to 3900 angstrom degree. Clear? This is the range of what? No, ultraviolet rays. 150 to 3900 angstrom degree. Under ultraviolet rays, how many wavelengths, how many rays are there in ultraviolet rays? 3 rays. How many ultraviolet rays? How many ultraviolet rays are there? UVC, UVB, UVA. Okay? So, an ultraviolet rays, from the ultraviolet rays. So, there are 3 components of ultraviolet rays. What are they? So, ultraviolet C, ultraviolet B and ultraviolet A, having a wavelength of 100 to 280 nanometer. 100 to 280 nanometer. Okay? 100 to 280 nanometer. Next, in ultraviolet B, having 280 to 320 nanometer. What is the wavelength of ultraviolet B? 280 to 320 nanometer. And in ultraviolet A, having 320 to 390, 320 to 390 nanometer. This is the wavelength of what? Ultraviolet C, ultraviolet B and ultraviolet A. Among these 3 ultraviolet, which is the most lethal ultraviolet? Ultraviolet C is the most lethal, most dreaded and most dangerous. The most lethal ultraviolet is ultraviolet C. Okay, ultraviolet C, most lethal. Ultraviolet C is what? Most lethal. And ultraviolet B, 280 to 320 nanometer. So 50% of UVB falls on the surface of the earth. Falls on the surface of the earth. Okay, falls on the surface of the not stratosphere, on the layer of stratosphere. By what percent? 50%. 50% of UVB falls on the surface of the stratosphere. Now ultraviolet C is most lethal and ultraviolet B is harmful. It is one of very harmful. Which one? Ultraviolet B. Which it leads for the mutation. Which it leads to the mutation. Ultraviolet B leads to the, if ultraviolet B is supposed to fall onto the surface of any plants or any animals, then ultraviolet B will sometimes ultraviolet B will mutate the genes which it leads to a skin cancer in an organism called, which kind of skin cancer? That is called melanoma. Which one? Melanoma. So which ultraviolet is responsible for forming of skin cancer? That is ultraviolet B, very harmful. But ultraviolet C is most lethal, but this ultraviolet C is not, falls onto the inner part of the stratosphere. Okay? Now it just ultraviolet C just get reflected back on the surface of the stratosphere, but ultraviolet B falls onto the surface of the innermost part of the stratosphere. By what percent? 50%. Okay? Now, visible light. What are the visible light? Now the range from gamma ray, that is 0.001 to 1.04, and X-ray, the wavelength is 0.005 to 200 angstrom degree, and in ultraviolet 150 to 3900 angstrom degree. But in case of visible light, what are the visible light? First, as we know, visible light, vibgyor, violet, blue, this is what indigo. Indigo is not mentioned because indigo and violet are getting fused with each other and they are merging with each other, which are violet and indigo. Next is blue, green, yellow, orange, red. Now, the violet having a wavelength of 390024 angstrom degree. Which one? Violet having 390024 angstrom degree in violet, and in blue 430024700 angstrom degree in blue, and in case of green it is forming 470025600 angstrom degree in green. What is the wavelength of green color? That is 470025600 angstrom degree. And in yellow it is 56002590 angstrom degree. Remember it. Now in orange 59002620 angstrom degree, and in red 62002780 angstrom degree. So these are the visible light, and these lights are responsible for photosynthesis, and so these kind of visible lights are referred to as PAR, that is photosynthetically active radiation, PAR. Okay, VIBGYOR stands for vibgyor, and these are the visible light. These are the visible light which referred to be as what? No, PAR, which is essential for photosynthesis. Photosynthetically active radiation. What is the full form of PAR? Photosynthetically active radiation. Active radiation. Okay. Photosynthetically active radiation. These are the wavelengths, and these are the wavelengths which are measured from violet to red. And these 26200 and 7800 are very much responsible for photosynthesis. But as we know, these are the light responsible for photosynthesis. But among them, red is helpful for what? No, photosynthesis. Why? Because 6200 and 7800 angstrom degree of these wavelength of light is responsible for to penetrate into the chloroplast to maintain the food during photosynthesis, which are applicable in photosynthetic process called what? No, Calvin cycles. Okay, so which it leads to the formations of what? No, food products in plants. Okay, now 6200 to 7800, which are also essential for the photosynthesis, called photosystem 2 and photosystem 1, which you have read in class 11. Clear? So 6200 to 7800 angstrom degree is essential for photosynthesis. Now 7 light. Which light is essential for photosynthesis? Red line is very much essential for photosynthesis. Though having all these components of light, all the lights are responsible, but among them the red is the most efficient for photosynthesis. Okay, which one? Red color. Clear? Next, after that, infrared. The wavelength of infrared is 7800 angstrom degree. Infrared. Then after that, radio waves is there, 10 to the power of 13 to 10 to the power of 17 angstrom degree. Clear? These are the wavelength of light. Among them, vibgyor, the visible light having 7 bands of color is called a spectrum. So which are essential for photosynthesis. Among them, red color is very much important and very much efficient for what? No, photosynthesis. Okay, and all the colors which are representing for visible lights are photosynthetically active radiations. Okay, now light in aquatic adaptation. Light in aquatic adaptation. light in aquatic adaptation. Light in aquatic adaptation. So, but what is the length of the light? So, at what level, at what height does the light penetrate onto the surface of the water? It can penetrate up to 200 to 250 meter. Remember it. Okay, up to 200 to 250 meter the light can penetrate into the water. Okay. So light in aquatic adaptation. Now I am showing you how it is forming light in aquatic adaptation. So this is the diagram I am showing you. So this is the graph of the diagram which I am showing you now. You must follow it nicely. So here it is water. So how many zones are there? How many zones are there under the water? How many zones are there under the water? First is littoral zone. How many zones are there? Number of zones? 3 zones are there. First one is littoral zone. Number 2, limnatic zone. Number 3, profundal zone. Profundal and benthic zone. Profundal and benthic zone. How many zones are there in the water? How many zones are there in water? So here the light is just falling onto the surface of the water. So which it is penetrating it? Okay. Here the light is penetrating it. But the here the light is penetrating onto the surface of the water. Now, and this particular zone is called littoral zone. It is called what? Littoral zone. Littoral zone. And here it is called limnatic zone. Till here it is limnatic zone. From here to here, this zone is called limnatic zone. Which kind of zone? Limnatic. Limnatic zone. Then, after at the bottom of the layer is profundal zone. Profundal and benthic zone. Which kind of zone? Profundal and benthic zone. So what happens in littoral and limnatic and profundal or benthic zone? Now first the light is penetrating onto the surface of the water, which it goes to the 200. As we know, 200 to 250, up to 200 to 250 it can penetrate. The sunlight can penetrate up to 200 to 250 meter into the water. Okay. In this particular area and this particular zone, abundance of phytoplanktons, angiospermic plant. Remember it. Angiospermic plants like Zostera, Thalassia. So these are the angiospermic plants which are present in the aquatic forms. Okay. Till here the photosynthesis is taking very conveniently. When in littoral zone. But after littoral zone there is which kind of zone? Limnatic zone. Here is also sun rays is also penetrating, but not so much amount which it had received in the littoral zone. It is compared to limnatic and littoral zone. In littoral zone, at littoral zone, sunlight is falling on it, and after the limnatic zone, least amount of sunlight is falling onto the limnatic zone. So limnatic zone is again subdivided into two parts, that is called despotic euphotic zone and despotic zone. Which kind of zone? Euphotic zone and despotic zone. Despotic zone. How many zones are subdivided in limnatic zone, euphotic zone and despotic zone? This is what? No, this is literal zone and this is limnatic zone. And this particular zone is called euphotic zone. Which kind of zone? Euphotic zone. And below the euphotic zone, it is called despotic zone. Which kind of zone? Despotic zone. And the bottom of the layer is called profundal or benthic zone. In this little zone, abundance of phytoplankton angiospermic plants like Josephus thalassia are growing. Clear? Well, in literal zone. And in limnatic zone, that is euphotic zone, here is also forming some plants, green algae, brown algae. Okay, green algae, brown algae are abundant in euphotic zone, but in limnatic zone, very least amount or very least content of algae are formed. Okay, at where? At despotic zone. But in profundal zones, here at a profundal zone, it is a dark zone. Profundal zone is what? A dark zone. In this zone, no plants are growing. Why no plants are growing? Because there is no enough sunlight to penetrate into it. At which kind of zone? Profundal or benthic zone. So no plants are growing. Only scavengers are existing in this particular zone. Where? In benthic zone. Which kind of organisms? Scavengers. And in limnatic zones, many carnivorous animals like sharks, fishes, okay, whales. Where? At limnatic zone. First is euphotic zone. This one is euphotic zone. So euphotic zone is the form of what? No? Limnatic zone, and despotic zone is the below layer of euphotic zone is despotic zone. So two zones are subdivided from limnatic zone. Under these zones, few amounts of organisms are existing and vegetations are very rare. And in here, many carnivorous fishes like shark, octopus are dwelling in it. At the dark zone, there is no current, and in this particular zone there is an ocean current, and here there is dark zone. All the scavengers are existing. Clear? So this is the life in aquatic adaptations. Okay, next. Temperature. Light is over, now temperature. Number 2 is temperature. Sunlight is over. Number 2 is what? The temperature. Temperature. The degree of, the definition of temperature, the degree of hotness or coldness is called temperature. Okay. The animals which lives in tropical, subtropical temperate and Arctic regions are called megatherms, mesotherms, microtherms and hecatomtherms. Hecatomtherms respectively. Okay. The animals which live in tropical, subtropical, temperate and Arctic regions are called megatherms, mesotherms, microtherms and hecatomtherms respectively. Okay. The organisms found in tropical regions are called megatherms and the organisms found in subtropical regions are called mesotherms and the organisms which are found in the temperate regions are called microtherms and the animals which are found in the Arctic regions are called hecatomtherms respectively. Clear? Now, what is called stenothermal? Organisms stenothermal. So these are the important points to remember. Stenothermal. The organisms which can tolerate a narrow range of temperature. The organisms which can tolerate narrow range of temperature is called stenothermal. It's called stenothermal. Okay, stenothermal. Example: fish and soil-dwelling animals and soil-dwelling animals like snake, scorpions. These are called what? No? Stenothermal organisms. And eurythermal. Eurythermal organisms means eurythermal. The organisms which can tolerate wide range of temperature. The organisms which can tolerate wide range of temperature is called eurythermal. Eurythermal organisms, including human can tolerate wide range of temperature. Okay, human, cow, apes, okay, birds. So these are the organisms which are called eurythermals. Okay, and stenothermal, the organisms which can tolerate narrow range of temperature is called stenothermal. Okay, next. Adaptation of animals in temperature variations. Okay, adaptation of animals in temperature variations. Adaptation of temperature variation adaptation of temperature variation in organisms. Now, two types are there: morphological, physiological adaptation. Morphological and physiological adaptation. And behavioral adaptation. So what happens in morphological, physiological adaptation? These are the organisms which are called what? Homeotherms. Homeotherms, including humans, homeotherms or endotherms. Endotherms. Okay. they maintain their constant body temperature. Morphological and physiological adaptation, the organisms which maintains their constant body temperature. The organisms which maintains constant body temperature are called homeotherms. And generally homeotherms are which kind of animals? Warm-blooded animals. Which kind of animals? Warm-blooded animals. Like including apes and mammals. Apes and mammals are generally homeotherms or endotherms. The organisms which maintains their constant body temperature. So morphological and physiological adaptation, which organisms fall? That is called homeotherms or endotherms. The organisms which maintain their constant body temperature. Suppose I am giving you an example of a bird. And the bird, what is the functions of feather and what is the functions of feather in bird? The main function of feather is for butterfly, as well also it also performs for what? It also helps to prevent the excessive body heat from its body. Okay, it also helps to prevent the excessive heat from its body. So this is the functions of feather which it is present in birds. So that they can maintain their constant body temperature. Okay. So in birds, feather helps for the protections, for the prevention from the excessive body heat. And in case of mammals like whales, having which kind of fat? Subcutaneous fat. Which kind of fat? Subcutaneous fat. Because they are surviving under very sometimes they can also survive below sub-0 degree Celsius. As a result of that, at that time, the subcutaneous fat helps them to survive in that particular conditions. Okay, so that's why they are called homeotherms. Given an example of apes is called birds. Birds having a feather, and feather helps to prevent the excessive body, helps to prevent the losing of excessive body heat from it. Okay, and the subcutaneous fat present in mammals of called whale helps to survive in very critical condition. Helps to survive in very, not in critical condition. Helps to survive in very below sub-0 degree Celsius sometimes. Okay. So these are the homeotherms. And in behavioral adaptation means what? The organisms which changes their body temperature according to their surroundings. The organisms which can adapt themselves, when the temperature is fluctuating, or you can say the organisms which can adapt themselves when the temperature is fluctuating. By in this mode, what are the special process they used to? So they used to possess by themselves. First is what? First is aestivations or hibernation. Which kind? Hibernation. As we know, hibernation is what? Winter sleep. Hibernation is what? Winter sleep. Hibernation is winter sleep. So which are the organisms which undergoes winter sleep? Example, mammals. No, not mammals. Example, reptiles like snakes, amphibians like frog. Okay. Number 2, aestivation. So aestivation, hibernation is winter sleep and aestivation is summer sleep. Which one? Aestivation. So which are the organisms which undergoes aestivation? Mollusks. Examples, mollusks. Okay, mollusks, summer sleep. And few desert dwelling animals also. Okay. Next, periodic activity. According to temperature, few organisms are there which they becomes very active. Now some are the organisms which are active in the morning, some animals which are also active in the evening, some organisms which are active at night, and some organisms which are active at the daytime, and some of the organisms which are active at twilight. Twilight is what? Dawn and dusk. Dusk means what? Evening. When it is just going to evening, and dawn is what? Very early in the morning. Clear? Next, I am showing you periodic activity. What happens in the periodic activity? So which are the organisms follows periodic activity? Periodic activity. First is active at night. Active at night are called nocturnal animals. Animals which are active at night are called nocturnal animals. Examples are owl, cockroach, bats. So these are the animals which are active at night. Number 2, diurnal. Diurnal, active at day. Active at day. Okay, active at day are humans, birds. Okay, humans, birds, cows. So these are the animals which are active at day. That is called diurnal. Number 3, crepuscular animals. What are called crepuscular animals? Crepuscular animals. Crepuscular animals means the animals which are active at twilight. Animals which are active at twilight. Animals which are active at twilight, that is dawn and dusk. Dawn and dusk. Many carnivorous animals, dawn is what? Very early in the morning, and dusk is just going to the night, just going the period which it is just completing the afternoon, and it is just entering to the night. That is called evening. So that is called dusk. When the sun is going to set, that is called dusk. And in this particular time, which organisms are active, and that particular organisms are called crepuscular animals. Example: tiger, lion. All the carnivorous animals, leopard, these are the animals which are very active very early in the morning and in the evening. Remember it, crepuscular animals. Next, number 4. Auroral animals. Which one? Auroral animals. Number 4, auroral animals. Auroral means active in the morning. Active in the morning. Birds. Okay, birds. Number 5. Auroral is the animals which are active in the morning, and active in the evening. Rabbit. Active in the evening called vesperal. Vesperal. What is called vesperals? The animals which are active in the evening are called vesperal. Example: rabbits. Which organisms? Rabbits. Rabbits are active in evening. Okay. So active at night, that is nocturnal. Active at day, that is diurnal. And which are active at twilight, that is crepuscular animals. And then active in the morning, auroral, including what? So the example, the best example of auroral is birds. And the active in the evening, they are called vesperal. Okay, that is one of rabbits. Okay, finished. So 2 important topics which I have completed, that are what? Light and temperature are very important topics from the organisms and population chapter. Now till then it's over. Now thank you.